Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me, Lennard Ray.
That's
Come
your
on.
name.
Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying we can rule the world, just me and you. If you were playing, won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, Boosie. I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The Mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it. That shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place. This nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying we can rule the world, just me and you. If you were playing, won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Lady, you so far ahead of these others, just like a ship on the horizon. Picking up on your vibe, signal stronger than Verizon. All the thoughts that I've been contemplating, ain't no time for faking or debating. You the one, ain't no mistaking. Look, I see your swag different. Always carry yourself like you ready, you know the mission. I had to know you, I'm tempted. I can see why you timid. Hold up now, baby, listen. Just take that dance with me. I can show you that there's a difference. I'm locked in. I throw away my playaways because you pop in. A shooter always shoot a shot. With you by my side, I guarantee we'll reach the top. I put that on God and then I'll give you all that I got. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place. This nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying we can rule the world, just me and you. If you were playing, won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me. Lennard.
All right. Yes, my mic is working. The guest mic is working. All things are working. What's up, you guys? Welcome to another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming on the TSWS Gaming channel on YouTube. A lot of shit to say. But anyways, I got my bro right here, Broken Gangs, or better yet, he ain't my bro quite yet. I don't know him like that. But let's be let's be absolutely formal with him. He's a pretty cool dude, really well known within the community, definitely well known on Twitter for whatever you want to take it as. But really interesting conversation ahead of us. I want to go on ahead and say welcome, Mr. Broken Games HDR. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Appreciate the invite. Looking forward to the, just the general conversation and, everything we're going to talk about it. Appreciate, you inviting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hustle and Motivate actually put me on to you. Actually, I reached out to you a while back, and then Hustle and Motivate was like, bro, why don't you have Broken Games on? He's a pretty cool cat to talk to. So I was like, all right, well, I'll try again.
Mm-hmm. And I be having so much stuff in my DMs. Like I just, overpass stuff sometimes. Cause I went back, when Hustle hit me up, I went back and checked. I'm like, oh, he did hit me up. I just be having like so much stuff in my DMs. That's all.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you, especially when you got the kind of show that you got. You got, hundreds of people viewing your stuff. I'm sure you're getting DMs about things to be hyped for, leaks and this, that, and the third. So I'm not surprised by it by any means. It is what it is. But you're here now, so let's enjoy it while we can. So let's go on ahead and get into the very first thing that I like to ask everybody when they first get onto the show is, what gaming and social media platforms are you on so people can check you out, search your stuff, or hit you up to get on the show or hit you up to game or whatever? You know what I'm talking about. Going ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's Broken Games HDR on Twitter, YouTube, same thing. You could just search Broken Games HDR, search Weapon Wheel Podcast. I'm on PlayStation. I game, on PC, Steam. Got a Switch. It's pretty much, you can find Broken Games HDR on all of that. My DMs are always open on Twitter. Yeah, all those ways you can you can find me.
Cool. So yes, as you guys can see above his video cam, you can see the name of his podcast, Weapon Wheel. His name's right there in case you slip up and forget for whatever reason. But I also got his info in the description below. So if you want to click on his Twitter through there or his YouTube through there, there's quick accessibility right there, right then and there. But let's go on ahead and get into what you've been playing lately, bro. Like, there's been quite a bit of things, kind of going around, and like DLCs dropping and stuff like that. You've been playing anything like the Returnal or just let a brother know.
It's been a little bit dry lately. We started off the year, it was pretty busy. It was pretty crazy start of this year. And then around like end of April, June, it got pretty dry. But I've been playing, the latest thing I played was Stray, I just beat Stray yesterday. Good game, for a dry time. Just a decent game in general. If you like cats, if you're a pet owner, like animals.
Yeah, I hear you like cats.
Yeah, me and my wife, we got 2 cats. I did play that Returnal DLC that came out this year. It's funny, like a lot of games are like starting to blur. That I don't even remember when. I'm starting to forget when exactly they came out. I didn't even realize that that DLC came out this year. I went back and played the Cuphead DLC came out too, and I went back and platinumed Cuphead, but platinuming Cuphead like kind of burned me out of Cuphead so much that I didn't actually beat the DLC yet. So I was like, I'm gonna go back to the DLC because I played so much of Cuphead at that time last month. So I got to go back and finish the DLC, but I was enjoying that. Of course, earlier in the year, I played Elden Ring, Horizon, Sifu, Tiny Tina. Yeah, played all of those. So it's been a good year for gaming this year, but it's just not consistent releases,
Yeah, are you excited for anything that's around the corner?
Yeah, Callisto Protocol. I'm a big horror survival fan, and that's looking good. So that's the end of the year. Of course, God of War, Last of Us. The Last of Us Part 1 remake. I'm not sure if anything other than those that I really care about the end of this year, though. That's the thing. I think other than that, might not be much. Oh yeah, there's Evil West. I'm looking at some stuff now. I am interested in that game. Oh yeah, the Batman. Well, not Batman, but Gotham Knights rather.
Oh,
so there's a few
things
in
that, huh?
Yeah.
It's not too stiff for you.
No, I think I'm one of those who thinks it looks good. I think it looks good. I think it's one of those things where people are gonna play it and realize, it may not have the fluidity of Rocksteady's games necessarily, but I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, especially since it's multiplayer, you can play with homies and whatnot. I think and what I hear is like each time you play with a different character, even if you're like playing online, you just get like different cutscenes and all these different things that are unavailable to you, or that are not, it's not the same dry cut story every single time. which
Right.
seems kind of interesting. I'm interested in checking that out for sure. But let's see. So just before the show started, I asked you just a simple question that I ask everybody else that comes on the show. If you guys have been here before, then you already know that I always ask people what the first console that they had access to easily as a kid. So like in their front room or when they went to their cousin's house or yada yada. When I asked Broken Games what console he had regularly at home with easy access, he went on ahead and said the Super Nintendo. Is that right, bro?
Yeah. It
Okay.
was first console. First game was definitely, Mario, Super Mario. I had the Donkey Kong. I remember playing Mario Legend of the Seven Stars. Um, the quintessential, Nintendo games. What else was there? Mario, the Donkey Kong. Uh, played a but I remember we used to like actually go to when people used to rent games and you could rent cartridges. Used to go to that store and rent a couple things, and it's funny because as a kid, I don't even think I remember the names of those games or even knew what the games were, because back then you used to make purchases or choices off a box art a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And if it looked fire on the box art, hey, the game might be good. Sometimes, sometimes it's a hit or miss. But of course, the Mario Karts and stuff like that. Yeah, all the quintessential stuff for Nintendo that most people played on Super Nintendo.
Okay. All right. So through you playing that, like, what was, like, let's say, like a top top 5 games on there other than, and let's take Mario out of the mix, 'cause I feel like that's really easy to go to, and let's take Donkey Kong out of there too. So hit me with hit me with a few possible like things that people wouldn't expect to hear.
See, it's hard to. I can easily take Mario out of it, but I truly believe like Donkey Kong is top 5 even now. Donkey Kong is a platformer. I think it's better than Mario even now, and so
in other words, you're saying screw you, I'm using Donkey Kong as one of them.
Yeah, I gotta keep Donkey Kong in there. Mario can get out of here, but I gotta keep Donkey Kong. I would say Chrono Trigger was fire. I did play Star Fox. Star Fox is pretty challenging to me at first. So I always got to the end. What was it, Andros? I think that was the boss name, right? What was it? Which Mega Man was that? Oh, I forgot, because there was like so many at this point.
I'm gonna tell you straight up, I never really got huge in the Mega Man.
Really? I think it was X. It was probably X. Secret of Mana. I remember that was really good. My love for like turn-based, traditional classic turn-based RPGs definitely started and was influenced by the Super Nintendo. So I do have them to thank for that. So yeah, that was like 5 games, right? I think that was 5.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and call it good enough on that one, bro. But anyways, so Super Nintendo, really dope entry way into gaming. What was the next step after that? Did you end up diving into the 64? Were you like a Nintendo, like, got to stay on the Nintendo, or did you go to PlayStation from there, or what happened?
So my cousin had the 64, right? And we were like, I guess we were, thinking like, oh, we got to cover all our bases, right? If we want to get to play everything. So since he already had the 64, I went and got the PlayStation, the PlayStation 1 when my parents asked me what I wanted. And yeah, I got the PS1, and man, that, you already know, that thing was amazing. For
startup screen alone was felt magical.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it was like, the library that it had, this being PlayStation's first entry into the consoles. And so I would still go over to my cousin's place, and we play GoldenEye and the new Mario Kart and weird stuff. Like I even played like Glover and some the obscure titles they had on that. Mario 64. What else? What else was there? Perfect
You're
Dark,
probably
of
playing
course.
No Mercy. Don't tell
Oh
me you weren't
yeah,
playing No Mercy in WrestleMania.
I did definitely play the. I was never like. I'm not one of those who played a lot of the wrestling games. I did play No Mercy, and I like on the PS1. I did play. What was that, SmackDown?
Mm-hmm.
The first SmackDown. Definitely played that. And yeah, so I think the fact that I went with the PlayStation, I think that might have had an influence of my path. Afterwards, I think I would have still been the PlayStation fan that I am now, even if I got the 64. I think I would have eventually still over time, moved over to PlayStation more because of the type of games they made. But that's at that point, yeah, I moved to the PlayStation, the PS1.
I mean, you got to also keep in mind, like, I mean, we were kids around that time,
Mhm.
right? So PlayStation games were cheaper. They had better sound.
Yeah.
The only thing that made it like really different is like it felt like 64 could host like a party easily because it had the 4 spots right in the front, and on the PlayStation you had to get the multi-tap.
Right.
Where PlayStation was just like it just felt so premium at the time. Back then when I was a kid, that was the grown folks console.
Mhm.
I got the Sega Genesis to use until I was like 9 years old or something like that. So
it was an individual experience. It was really for you. And maybe one other person, might play a fighting game with, like a Tekken or something like that. And yeah, so I remember Siphon Filter. I played that. I think, and that even had like a multiplayer. That had the yeah, like the 1v1, the split screen. Even Siphon Filter had that just remembered that.
Yeah, so what would you say and did you wear that, did you actually own that game, or did you just wear out the demo on that? Because I know a lot of us, myself, pretty much just wore out the demo. I ended up owning it late in the generation, but I mostly played that game for the demo.
Yeah, I actually got Siphon Filter. The demos I played to death were, I think there was a bunch of demo discs, but one had, I think Fighting Force was on there.
Yes.
I played the hell out of that. There was a demo disc with Tumba. I never owned Tumba. No, I owned Tumba, but not Tumba 2. Yeah, so I actually bought Tumba. Never played Tumba 2 though. And I never really hear anybody ever talk about Tumba 2. But a lot of people know about the first one. So I played a lot of Tumba. What else was on those demo discs? I think Tomb Raider. Oh yeah, Wipeout. Gran Turismo was on the demo disc also, but I'm not a racing fan. I tried that out and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. I was never a racing fan. Tomb Raider being on there was a big deal because after that, I bought like all the Tomb Raiders, all the first like trilogy of Tomb Raider. It went through different hands after like Revelation and stuff like that. But I bought like the first 4 Tomb Raiders and everything. Yeah, them demo discs was like, and it's like you never really got tired of them too. Like them demo discs at that time never dried up. They were real fun.
Yeah, they were really good. I forgot who told it to me, but they reminded me that you used to even get demo discs from like Pizza Hut and stuff like that back in the day when you ordered pizza. Like they were really pushing those games out there, and I really enjoyed those times. It was a lot more simpler back then. But
yeah, I think you got them from magazines also. They used to put them in like the PlayStation and gaming magazines too.
Yep. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask it because I'm a big fan of this or that platform that was. But were you ever big into like Sega at all?
No, I never got into the Dreamcast like that. I know it's funny, like Dreamcast is one of those consoles where I don't know, everybody you talk to has a Dreamcast like story or a Dreamcast experience, and it's like it's funny that everybody has one, but the Dreamcast failed and never really sold that much. But no, I don't have any I did play on it one time. I don't even know where at, but I don't have no real like Dreamcast memories or stories. I probably played, what was it, Crazy Taxi on it, and
Like
that's
Ready to Rumble,
I think
fighting, stuff like that.
I think I played Crazy Taxi and that was it. Nothing beyond that. Yeah, I never got into Dreamcast.
So you didn't even mess with the demo disc on the Dreamcast.
I never had it. I think I might have played it at like the mall kiosk or something.
Gotcha.
You know, like I never had it. My nobody in my family or cousins ever had it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I played it at like a game store or at the mall or something.
Okay, so you weren't on that hype train.
Nah.
Gotcha.
Definitely not.
All right, so moving forward, now that you hurt me a little bit, let's go ahead and move to something else. It is what it is, though. Not everybody, you know, plays on that plays them old school consoles like I still do and enjoy that that nostalgia factor that came with owning a Dreamcast back in the day and whatnot. But now pushing on from the PlayStation, I want to know a little bit more about that specific console cycle. So were you like into like just like RPGs or were you just into all sorts of different games? Because like I'm guessing you're still fairly young at this point in time. Am I correct?
31.
No. I'm talking about back then.
Oh, back then. When the PlayStation came out, yeah, I was definitely young.
All right, so tell me some of like some of the top games that were on there for you, because you listed off some of the games that were on, you know, the demo disc and whatnot, but like,
Right.
I'm sure you got your own personal selection that you're like, man, these are the love right here.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously like games like Final Fantasy, you know, the Final Fantasy like 7 and stuff like that. That was the two like big games to me, like PS1 that come to my mind: Final Fantasy 7, Metal Gear Solid 1. Like those two, like Metal Gear Solid 1 like opened my mind to like just real deep storytelling. Right? That story at that time, even game design, like when you had to fight you know, Psycho Mantis, and
Plug in the controllers in different spots and whatnot.
That blew my mind as a kid. that blew my mind. That blows my mind now, because there's that goes outside of gaming, you know, to implement that into the design of a boss fight. You know what I'm saying? Like there's never been nothing like that in gaming again that required you to like do something literally outside of the game to beat a boss or beat an enemy. As far as I know, nothing's been done like that since. So that still blows my mind now that, you know, I guess you give Kojima credit that he thought of something like that, since he was controlling you, mind control or whatever. And the way to circumvent it was to put your controller in another port. Like that's crazy to like think of that, you know, especially that early on in gaming. So
you had to move your memory card or else he is telling you what games you were playing.
Yeah, like that was nuts. I'm hard on Kojima, you know, now for certain reasons, but that was genius back then. And yeah, with Final Fantasy 7, I mean, that's one of my top games, you know, of all time. So that was another one with like just crazy storytelling and you know, just gameplay and, you know, the characters. I mean, even the visuals for that time. Yeah, that just had a huge, you know, impact on me, and that's why I love the remake, you know, so much now. So yeah, other games. Oh, PS1. What other games? Of course, Resident Evil. You know, I'm a big Resident Evil fan now because of you know, obviously 1 and 2. What else is there? Oh, of course, like I said, the Tomb Raiders, the Crash Bandicoots. You know, Crash Bandicoot was like was a platformer that obviously everybody played and got. Well, I wasn't actually a fan of the first Crash Bandicoot game that much. It was Crash Bandicoot 2 that I was like, oh yeah, this is it. You know,
what was the difference for you?
Oh, the platforming and just the Crash 1 was like just too basic of a platformer. It was way too basic, because it was really just jump and spin. If I remember correctly, that's all you could do. You know, he didn't have like the body slam move yet. did he have the slide move? I can't even remember if he had the slide. He might have had the slide move. Maybe he didn't.
It's been so damn long since I played that. I don't
Yeah, so
remember.
I can't even remember if he had the slide move. But like it was just too limited in gameplay, and the level design also wasn't really impressive or there yet, in my opinion. So they really got a lot better in all ways with Crash 2. So that was really good. What else?
Last time I played Crash Bandicoot was in Uncharted 4.
mm,
I don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
I get you.
it's been a
Yeah, the
long time
demo,
since I actually played it. Yeah, you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about.
the demo at the end. What was that? At the beginning? It was at the
There's
beginning
one
and
at
the
the
end.
beginning and the
Yeah,
end. Yeah.
yeah. Bushido Blade. I remember playing Bushido Blade. That game was that fighting game was interesting. Because it was it's one of those games where you could get hit once and it was it was game over. It was one of those lethal games where you could get killed with one hit, and it was like about patience and strategy, and even I think they should bring that game back. Medal of Honor. I beat Medal of Honor. This was, I believe, the first Medal of Honor. Yeah, I beat that a bunch of times. Knew that game like the back of my hand. Had 100% of that. Twisted Metal. I'm glad that game is pretty much coming back. We're probably gonna see an announcement about the new Twisted Metal reboot, and within the next year, I think. So yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
that was one of the games for me on
Mhm.
PlayStation growing up. Twisted Metal 2, I played the hell out of that. Wasn't a huge fan of Twisted
Mhm.
Metal 1 that much, but I didn't play 1 until after I played 2, to be honest. 3
Mhm.
was really dope, and then 4 was my favorite.
Yeah, Black
With Moon
Twisted
Buggy
Metal.
and stuff like that. That was my joint.
Yeah, and Twisted Metal Black on PS2 was amazing.
Yeah, wasn't that one of the like earlier launch games?
Yeah, it was free if I remember correctly. They just put that on the disc, and it came with the PS2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was a big deal. That and Gran Turismo A-Spec
Mhm.
was a massive deal when the PS2 dropped. But let's go on ahead and move over to PS2 now. So PlayStation 2 is out, and I'm kind of wondering like how big you were into PlayStation 2, because it was pretty big for me. Obviously, like Grand Theft Auto 3 was a big deal, coming from bird's eye view of like Grand Theft Auto London and 2, and
Mhm.
and you can actually finally get a network adapter for your PS2. At that time, it was like a little brick that
Mhm.
you screwed into the back of the PlayStation 2. Were you
Yep.
one of those people that had one of those plugins on the back?
Absolutely. Had to have it for SOCOM.
Yeah,
Had to have it.
facts.
SOCOM is probably SOCOM might be one of the most important games for me as a gamer, because it kind of shaped my competitiveness. I am a multiplayer, type, gamer, and I feel like unfortunately I'm gonna say the last 8 or so odd years, I feel like the industry hasn't been making the type of multiplayer games that I like. I'm hoping that changes in the next few years. But SOCOM was like everything to me. I played that game until like there was damn near nobody on the servers. Played that's like because I started, what was that? Somewhere in the middle of that would be in somewhere in the middle of high school for me when SOCOM 2 first came out. I played SOCOM 1 also, but SOCOM 2, I think I was somewhere in the middle of high school, maybe freshman year. And then even when I got to college, I was still playing that in the dorm room. Um, yeah, it's just an amazing experience. You really had to like be there and try it. To like, people don't understand, like when you try to explain to someone who never played SOCOM, it's hard to like really explain to them. You had to be there. It was just a moment and an experience like no other. So yeah, SOCOM was just amazing. Shadow of the Colossus, that's a game I loved. You know, beat the original. Beat the remake. Of course, Metal Gear Solid 2. Got to play as Raiden. We didn't, not playing as Snake through people for a loop. Of course, the Grand Theft Auto games.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Did you
Yeah.
ever get big into Devil May Cry's?
I was never crazy into them. I did play like Devil May Cry 2 and 3. I have no memory of playing the original one. I don't think I ever played the original one. Yeah, I don't think I
Okay.
ever actually played the original one. I played a few of the Tony Hawk games. Nothing like I never played it like super serious. It was just fooling around with them. Of course, the Jack games. Jack and Daxter. What else? Yeah, those are the ones. Those are the big games that are coming to mind. But it had such a huge library. I know I played like way more than that.
Oh yeah.
But the library is like so huge. It's like hard to think of like everything I played. Of course, I played some Tekken games and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that PlayStation 2 was a nice generation, but there was also some other big time consoles to come out during that time. Were you strictly just a PlayStation gamer at that time, or did you dabble around with other things? Because I'm guessing this is like, middle school, high schoolish area. You're only a year younger than I am from what you announced earlier. You said you're 31. I'm 32. So,
Right.
so this is, around that time period. Were you dabbling with other things, or were you strictly PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, PlayStation guy?
No, I went and got a GameCube. Pretty soon after that. When the GameCube came out, also had that. The GameCube is probably it's probably my last favorite Nintendo console. I really loved what it was. I had first played Resident Evil 4 is also like one of my favorite games of all time. I've beaten that. That they put that game on like every platform. I've beaten it damn near on every platform it's been on.
Damn.
Yeah, and the first time I beat it, it came to PS2 later on, but the first time I beat it was on GameCube. So yeah, I played some game, Smash Bros. I had Smash Bros. And whatever Mario Kart they had at the time. What was that? Was that Double Dash?
Double Dash, yep.
Okay,
That was Double
yeah,
Dash.
that was Double Dash.
They had Sunshine, and was it like Luigi's like mansion or something
Mansion,
like that?
yeah. So I had like I didn't have my GameCube library wasn't as big as my PS2 library, but I had like all the games that I really cared about on GameCube. Yeah.
All right, now like something that's similar to like the feeling of a Resident Evil game that I'm kind of curious if you played on GameCube is Eternal Darkness. Did you
No.
ever get the chance to touch that game?
No, I never got a chance to play that. No.
Damn, because you probably ain't gonna go back and play it now.
No, probably not.
Nah, man, but that game right there, that game was what actually got me sort of into horror games again, because when I was younger, I wasn't messing with Silent Hill and Resident Evil. I don't know, I just wasn't big into horror games. But once I got a GameCube, it was kind of slim pickings every once in a while for GameCube games for me personally, because I also had, I think, a Dreamcast during that same time period, so I was kind of bouncing back and forth between those. But yeah, I mean, talk about slim pickings. Dreamcast had some slim pickings, but yeah, that was one of my favorite GameCube games of all time. 100%. It was fire. The awkward sounds that you'd hear in that game, and you'd walk into a room and ghosts would start to chase you and shit. So it was it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. But now I'm kind of curious. I gotta ask it. What were your thoughts when you heard Microsoft was coming out with a new console during that time?
I'm gonna be honest. At that time, I didn't really pay it much attention. Like I think when you were just like consumed with PS2, GameCube, Nintendo and PlayStation are the ones who are dominating. Like I was like, okay, I think a lot of people kind of wrote them off when you first heard the announcement, because it's hard to get into, it's hard to enter the gaming industry with a new console. It was probably a little bit easier back then, but it's like how we are now. When we hear now, like when Amazon tried to enter, or Google with Stadia. They're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's kind of cringe when you first hear about it until they
Yeah,
actually show you
yeah,
everything that they got.
yeah. We're not going to take it serious until we have to take it serious. So I think that's how I took it. At that time, I didn't really pay it much attention. So I was like, whatever. I'll see how that turns out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then once you started to go over people's houses, possibly, and
Mhm.
see some folks, I'm sure you went to many other people's houses that had the PlayStation 2 and other stuff. But once you got to somebody's crib and they passed you the sticks to the Xbox, what was your first thought?
Um, I thought, it still never like blew me away. Um, I thought it was, a decent experience. I remember playing like Halo and stuff like that. Um, and I think it was a Rainbow Six game on there
Mm,
as well. I think so. So those were cool. I remember playing those, but it was never anything that was like really pulling my attention away from like the PS2 or the GameCube, because the PS2 just had such a huge library, and the Xbox, the first Xbox, didn't have the same expansive library as it. So it was not really anything that like blew me away or took my attention away from what I already had. Um, I think a lot of people kind of ignored it or wrote it off, or because the PS2 was the PS1 and PS2 were king. So it was going to be kind of hard to grab that mind share from them, and that showed up in like the sales of the PS2 and the original Xbox. It was a huge gap. So I
yeah,
think a
yeah,
lot,
it's
yeah,
definitely.
and that's it, to be expected, with it when it's your first time out, putting a console out.
Okay. So now let's move on to the next generation when things started to get a little bit more spicy, right?
Hmm.
All right. So PlayStation 3 came out just a wee bit after the 360 did, and it was more expensive.
Hmm.
Were you tried and true, or did you go on ahead and dabble with the 360 a little bit?
I bought a PS3. I did not buy 360 at launch. I bought 360, I think a year and a half, 2 years after my PS3, I think. Um, and 360 definitely, came out the gate, just hitting, right. They had, throughout the generation, they had the better, performing console. They had, you could say they had the better games, um better interface, software, all that stuff, better online. They really took a huge leap from the original Xbox, whereas the PS2 to the PS3, we all know the story. Sony kind of thought they had it in the bag, because they dominated before and they made some bad choices, with design and stuff like that, and architecture and all that. But yeah, I still went with the PS3, and to me, they still had the games that I preferred, over the 360.
And some of those games were.
Resistance, Killzone. Um,
So you like Killzone more than Halo?
Oh yeah, yeah. Killzone is just more my type of game. I really like Halo, but I don't like the gunplay. I'm not like the craziest. Halo has a very unique gunplay style,
Yeah, let's keep it
right?
in the PS3, Xbox
Hmm.
360 generation on this part right
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Halo has a very unique, just play style. Nothing, no other game plays like Halo. It's very, uh, you know, it's just very unique in the way it plays. That's why it's like, for somebody who, if you try to get somebody now to play Halo who's never played, it goes against all like the conventional wisdom of how first person shooters play. So it's like hard to teach them that. But yeah, I just like the theme of Killzone more, like the gameplay of Killzone, and Resistance, and it had Metal Gear Solid 4, pretty early in its life. Of course, the Uncharted games, Uncharted 2. That's another game in my top, probably in my top 10, top 15 all time. Um, so it came, the PS3 it started out it was really rough. It was really bad starting out. But they recovered, towards the end of the gen. But even halfway, like I said, with the Uncharted 2s, the God of Wars, like the games still found a way to shine through the troubles of the console. And, to me, they still had the more memorable games, when as the console cycle ended.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. And so what drove you to buy a 360? Because you said you didn't buy a original Xbox, is that correct?
No, I never end up buying the original Xbox.
Okay. So there obviously was something that like caught your eye about it for you to go out and spend your own hard-earned money on, the competition. What was it?
Yeah, it wasn't even like the most I wouldn't say it was even the most popular, 360 games. It was like a few like obscure ones like Alan Wake. I was a big fan of, Alan Wake. I did beat all the Gears of Wars. So I was definitely interested in playing the Gears of War trilogy. I dabbled a little bit in Fable. It was just that even though there were more games on PlayStation that interested me, I'm a gamer. I'm not gonna take, short myself of an experience because something is on another platform. I'm just gonna have, both platforms. So I didn't have I wouldn't say I had a bunch of games. I had the Halos, I had the Gears, I had the Alan Wake, and a few games here and there. But that was it was mostly for, their main series, their flagship titles. So that's really, what I had it for.
Okay. Now, I just want to shout out the chat real quick. Thanks for coming out, you guys. Mr. Bushido, good to see you up in here. Stank Ma, Hustle and Motivate, Saltiest Gaming, Gas. Really good to see you guys. Thanks for showing up. And the rest of you that I did not mention that didn't happen to have your, your name in the chat quite yet or whatnot. I appreciate you all for coming here. Definitely stick around, and we're going to be having some pretty interesting questions coming his way. He knows all about them. They're all verified. I already asked him before the show if it's cool to ask and whatnot. So just kind of keep your keep your ears open, and again, thank you guys so much for coming. But to continue on now, so 360, took it got your money. The PlayStation was already a bet. Now we're moving into the next generation once again, and I'm pretty much going to cut it off at this one from this one, because we haven't really got too deep into the new generations to like give it like an overall grade. We can just go based on what we kind of see as of right now. I mean, 2 years, still pretty early in a console generation. You can definitely see one, or you could be very objective in very many ways on how you can feel about this current generation. But I want to stick it to the Xbox One and the PS4 generation now. And the first way I want to go into that part of the conversation is I want to ask you what you thought when you seen the E3 for Xbox. Because you just got or a few years before, you got a 360. So you're thinking, maybe Xbox is going down the right track. Maybe it's more interesting. What did you think after you seen the presentation?
So if I'm remembering correctly, that presentation was the TV presentation.
Yeah.
Where they focused on TV for some odd reason, which set them on the wrong track, and like kind of, that was a big misstep that kind of followed on the whole generation. Just like anybody else, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, all you did was talk about like they made it seem like a multimedia console where games, weren't the focus, where people mainly buy a console to buy games, but they were talking about these TVs, these apps, these services, and I think I don't even remember if I think they might have brought up Madden and stuff like that. But yeah, they wanted to present it as this multimedia box that could do all these things. But
Yeah,
all that
Madden
stuff,
25 was a big deal, yeah, at
yeah,
that
but
time.
all this all this stuff comes secondary. If you're not going to sell people on games, the killer apps and why they need to, buy your console, nobody's going to care about all this other stuff. So yeah, I was like, yeah, that was terrible.
Okay. All right. Now, what did you think on the opposing side when they had their conference about the PS4? What was your take? Did you find anything like extremely attractive, or were you kind of like, eh? Like, what was your thoughts?
So I'm trying to remember if it was their first PS4 presentation where they showed Killzone Shadowfall, Knack. Was that the right presentation I'm thinking of?
I think so. I think I'm pretty sure that Killzone one was a big deal. I thought it was on the first one, because because I remember that being like a negative. Eventually, not at the time.
Yeah.
At the time, everybody
Yeah,
was
eventually.
hyped for it, but eventually it ended up being like this ain't
Oh
what
yeah,
you said.
people were blown away by the visuals. They couldn't believe that this was a Killzone game, right? They just couldn't believe how much of a visual leap it was, at the time. So it was Killzone Shadowfall. They showed Knack. I think they might have showed Infamous Second Son. It wasn't a launch title, but it came out, the following year. So I think they might have even showed that off. And yeah, that was just very impressive to people. Obviously, people were like, "This is this is really good." They showed a variety of games, and these games that just looked different. They were impressed by the visuals and the gameplay. So and they didn't focus on nothing TV related. They actually focused on games. And there was a bunch of other stuff about the console that they talked about. Um, with the lead architect, Mark Cerny, I believe, had spoken about it, and people were just really excited. So it seemed pretty promising.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I definitely remember getting that thrown in my face a whole lot. What you gonna do? Watch TV on your new Xbox One
Mm-hmm.
and all that jazz. Because I was mostly dabbling with Xbox. I rode with them pretty hard since after the PlayStation 2. Because of the whole music in my console and stuff like that. I always kind of used my Xbox as not only just gaming but multimedia. So when I first seen the announcement about it, I was just like, it'd be nice to see some more game stuff, but this is kind of cool. Like being able to control my entire front room with my Xbox. Some of the stuff was really gimmicky, like saying hike. I don't need to say hike to Madden. I don't want to do that. I did think it was funny on I believe it was like the 2K games or something like that. You would cuss and you'd get a technical foul.
Oh yeah, I forgot they had the connect. They had the connect thing going on too.
Right,
Yeah, that
right.
didn't
So,
work out for them either.
man, the only thing I miss about that Connect is being able to say Xbox Snap and pull up YouTube on the side, because I thought that was tight. I'd be able to sit there and watch like a podcast or something like that and have the game on right in front of me, and they both on the same screen. I thought that was legit. You can kind of do that now with the PS5 if you know your workarounds, but it's a little bit more difficult and not as seamless. But anyways, going back to those two launches, so did you even experiment with the Xbox during that time, or were you just like, I don't think so after seeing all that TV stuff?
I bought an Xbox One, I think next year, and or the year after that, and I sold it. Probably in a few months. There was just no need for me to have it, especially since I did have a PC at the time, so everything that Xbox releases, I could play it on PC. So all I really needed was the PS4 and the PC. That kind of covered all my bases to play everything I wanted and was interested in.
Gotcha. All right. And then the PS4, I'm guessing you got that pretty much at launch.
Oh yeah, that was day one. That was definitely day one.
And the first few games were.
Definitely Shadowfall. I played a lot of Shadowfall. That the multiplayer, I played that. That was another game I played damn near till it was like kind of, dead and dying off. Got a lot of hours in that. Played Knack. Um, the PS4 launch wasn't the best. Uh, you know, it most PlayStation launches are not necessarily great. They really their best years are from like their 50, their half point in the console's life cycle to the end. That's where they put out all their best games. But at launch, it was mostly Killzone and then Knack, and I think Infamous came out like the spring afterwards. So that was the early experiences.
Okay. Now, as the generation progressed, as you said, PlayStation didn't have the hottest start. Xbox's start wasn't too bad. They had like Rise, and a few other great games that ended up coming out at the very beginning. Call of Duty was a big deal. I really enjoyed that. Halo eventually when that came out, which was a long time actually, if I remember right, because Halo 4 wasn't that on that was on 360, right?
Yes.
If I'm getting, yeah. So Halo 4 was on 360. There's a ton of Halos on 360, but there was only like pretty much one Halo on the Xbox One. So yeah, that was it was a dry time for Xbox throughout that generation. But I just kind of want to know what were like the few games that you did play while you had that Xbox? Because you said you only had it for a couple months. There had to be something that you wanted to push through during that time.
I played Rise, Son of Rome.
What'd you think?
The game's, it's a good game. It was one of those games where it was fun. It was fun to play. It's not as bad. It's nowhere as bad as some people try to make it. It's nowhere as good as other people try to make it. It's one of those just kind of middling games. But it was okay. I also played Dead Rising. Also, I wasn't able to beat that game. That game actually made me sick because of there's like bad motion blur and frame rate issues. Yeah, that game was pretty bad to me. I think, what else was there? I think I might have played a few other things, but I sold it pretty soon after that.
Okay. All right. And then let's go on ahead and just move on, because I think I touched up on that one pretty good. We kind of hit all the bases of it. So now I kind of want to know, like, throughout all of these things that you played, all the consoles and whatnot, what would you say would be probably the most prized console of them all, in the terms of feeling when you got it?
Just the best experiences, the best games. To me, it's like it's probably tied with it might be tied with the PS2 and PS4, but I would probably give the PS4 the edge. A lot of people would go with the PS2, but sorry. Gotta knock at the door. 1 second.
No, I get it. I got a 4-year-old myself, so when you get that knock on the door, you just kind of gotta answer it. But anyways, thanks again for you guys tuning in. Shinrock, Shinrock Sound Gaming. Appreciate you for stopping by. Pretty good show so far. Learning quite a bit about them. Some spicier questions coming in here shortly. Definitely once we get to the content creator things, I got a few things to ask him about that subject and whatnot. But let's go back to let's go back to what you were just talking about. You said the PS4 would edge off the PS2, and I'm kind of curious, like, why? Because everyone says PS2 is the GOAT.
Yeah, but man, like the PS4, like that the run that the PS4 had, I think like the PS2 might have had overall the bigger and craziest library, but I think the PS4, the run that the PS4 had with its release of exclusives, like it's hard to touch it. Like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us, Bloodborne, Uncharted, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War. There's just hit after hit without fail. You know what I'm saying? Like and of course the other multi-plats coming from third party studios is really good. They just couldn't miss. Like they literally could not miss as far as exclusives went. And I'm not even even Ratchet and Clank, prior to the Ratchet and Clank on the reboot on PS or remake, whatever they want to consider it, on PS4, I wasn't really a Ratchet and Clank fan, right? I didn't like the Ratchet and Clanks before that, but I like this Ratchet and Clank. Like I said, Infamous, and yeah, man, they just couldn't miss for anything. It was just banger after banger. That's why I still put last gen over the PS2. It was just great experience. It was amazing, man. It was unstoppable. It was putting the competition in the dirt, just with the quality of the exclusives. They had the industry on lock.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even disagree. Especially after Spider-Man came out, I was just like, all right, this hurts.
They were unstoppable, man.
All I had was my VCR Xbox at that time. So I was just like, dang,
and I went to the E3,
some solid ones.
And I went to the E3 where they announced Spider-Man, God of War, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, so you were dumb hype.
Yeah, I was at that E3, and I'm like, and people consider that to be one of the best E3s of all time, because it's they were just announcing game after game, this big, and man, it was crazy, because I told you, Final Fantasy VII, one of my favorite games of all time, and then the remake came out, and it was, yeah, man, the first party studios at PlayStation, they just couldn't be stopped last gen.
All right. Well, before we bounce out of this topic about video games and what you enjoyed playing throughout your time and whatnot, I want to ask kind of a random kind of question, and I think these are getting a little bit more popular. I mean, they were always popular, but I think they're a little bit more easier for people to do now than before, obviously, for technical purposes. But if you were to make a game based off of a movie during whatever time period, it doesn't matter when the movie was, but if you were to base a game off of a movie and give it, the AAA, treatment and whatnot, what movie would it be, and what developer would you have make it?
This has actually been a conversation people have been talking about recently. People brought up Blade recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I said with Blade, I would probably give it to either Team Ninja, the Capcom team that makes Devil May Cry. There was somebody else that I would give it to. I said Team Ninja, the Capcom team. I'm not the biggest fan of Platinum Games, but they have a lot of experience in this type of probably action game, so I would even consider Platinum. I would even consider Ninja Theory also. There's another studio I said From Software, mainly because they made Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and that had great sword gameplay. So yeah, there's a bunch of studios that I think are experienced in that. So yeah, I would give one of those studios a Blade game, I would say.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'd love to see a Blade game. I'd like to see them try to make the character like Wesley Snipes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that, because Wesley Snipes was such a perfect character for that. That first Blade movie was just so dang good. The movie starts and it's like a club scene and people are dancing with the lights going off, and then and it looked like a regular club until the sprinklers came on, and then it was like, bro, what the hell?
They need to put him as a cameo in the new Blade movie.
Blood all over everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit was wild, bro. And then he ended up going crazy at the club.
Yeah.
Man, that was something else. And that train scene was pretty cool too.
Yep.
The most wild part was probably the part where they had him posted up leaking.
Hmm.
So that dude could transform.
Yeah.
That shit was wild.
Hmm.
But fantastic. So we're gonna move on to the next subject, which is content creation. You've been doing it for a lot longer than a lot of people have, especially me.
Hmm.
So I gotta ask, like, what's drawn you to becoming a content creator, at least from the get go? And how long have you been doing it?
So I've been doing it since 2008, and it all started just because I was in my dorm room. I was on college campus. I stayed on campus, and back in 2008, YouTube was very young. Uh, it was a very primitive website, compared to what you see now. Like it was extremely different. It wasn't as developed. Communities weren't as developed. Um,
People mostly went to
it-
there to watch highlights and stuff. Like Reggie Bush
ye-
highlight was one of the biggest things on there
yeah,
when YouTube was big
yeah,
at the beginning.
people didn't really that people weren't making like careers. This isn't my career. I still have a full-time job. This is just something I do on the side, but people weren't making like careers and as much high level content as they are now, right? But I just started out because I was bored in my dorm room, right? And I saw people, I was on YouTube just messing around, and I saw people making videos about gaming, and I was like, I'm really good at games. Um, I could do this since I'm bored, and I just did some research, tried to figure out what I needed to make content. I already had a laptop, that I used for college. I I had to buy a microphone to record gameplay. Some people may not have heard about the Dazzle. The Dazzle was like one of the first recorders for gaming. Um, it was an SD recorder. The quality for then was like, was fine. If you seen the quality now, it's some SD. It's terrible now. Some SD low bit rate, low, pixelated stuff. But yeah,
Mm,
that's how
absolutely.
I got my start. I was just bored one day and wanted to start making gaming content, figured out what I needed, and I just started.
Okay, so I'm of course guessing that the passion came from video games and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to know like what drove you outside of just gaming, camera setup. Was there anything that like made you want to pursue that? Like, was there anything that you were doing study wise that like made you like go into that direction, or was it just literally just testing the waters?
Yeah, it was honestly just testing the waters. I mean, people always told me like I've always been told like I'm a good public speaker. When I had to do school assignments or speak at any function, people told me I was a good public speaker. But um, it was really just gaming. It was really nothing else than that boredom and gaming. That's all it really was. That was all the motivation.
How old would if you remember, were you when you first started that?
Oh, I was 18. Yeah, I was 17 going on 18. Yeah.
Dang. So
Mhm.
you've been doing it for dang. So like what, 13 years?
Yep. It's been 13 years. Yeah. Mhm.
Golly. And is there
A
any
long
plan
time.
on slowing down or is it just ramping up?
I've definitely slowed down as far as like the amount of content I put out. When I was in college, people who some people who watch me now watched me then, um, and they'll tell you I used to put out like 3 4 videos a day. It could just be gameplay clips or actual videos talking about something. Um, but now I don't do that. I'm obviously way too busy that now. That was in college. I had like 2 classes a day, and they were all in the morning. So I would spend literally the rest of the day just playing video games and making content. Obviously, got a full-time job now, and a bunch of other responsibilities. Married and all that. So I make videos uh, when I want to, but you know it's like I pick and choose the type of videos that I want to talk about. And as far as like gameplay, like uploading gameplay, I upload. I don't have like a desire to like upload just random gameplay. I prefer to live stream at this point, but I'm not necessarily. I prefer to live stream specifically like multiplayer like games, and I don't have like a multiplayer game that I love right now. Um, so yeah, I just
I did see you
mainly.
live streaming the hell out of Halo early
Yeah, I
in the
did.
Halo
Yeah,
days. You were
yeah,
live
I
streaming the
did.
hell out of that.
Yeah, I did. So it's I don't make nowhere as much content as I used to. I do the podcast Sundays, and every Sunday. But as far as like consistency, I mean, there's weeks where I can make 3 videos a week, 4, like once in a while, maybe 5. But and then there's times where I'll put out 1 video a week. So it all depends.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, Now, tell me what it was like for you in particular, because you were 18 when you started out. You
Yep.
are now married.
Hmm.
Whether you have kids or not, I don't know. That's none of my business. Um,
I
I want
don't.
to know what it was like getting a wife and letting her know, how much you dabble in games and stuff like that. Was the relationship already there before you started your channel? Or did it come like a few years later? Or like how did that all work out for you?
No, I met my wife. What was it? 2016, 15, 16. One of those, something around that. Something around that. But
So you were
no,
well
like
into your career
yeah,
of
yeah.
YouTube.
I was well into content creation, but I was never one of those that was like worried or shy or afraid to say, yeah, I play video games and I make videos and content creation, because the type of I'm confident in myself for one thing, so nobody can make me feel bad about playing video games, and also the type of woman that I would talk to isn't going to shame me for nothing anyway. Like I'm just gonna talk to the type of person who's gonna be who would just be like mature enough to understand there ain't nothing wrong with a grown man playing video games. So
Right.
it was never a problem for me.
Okay, okay. And all right, not never a problem for you. Cool.
Hmm.
Was it ever a problem for her though?
No, she never had a problem with it. I mean, because it's all about balance. She knows there are going to be times where a new game comes out, and I may play that new game for the whole day, right? But then she knows there are times like this, like I said, where there's not many games out, and I haven't been other than Stray. Like I said, I haven't been playing anything, so I've been spending most of my time with her. We be chilling with each other, so she understands that. Like there's times where playing a whole bunch of games, times where I'm not. It's not like and I still obviously take care of all my responsibilities, so she don't
Mhm.
mind. Yeah.
So she don't give a damn.
No.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's good.
Yeah.
I think I need to let everybody know that that's extremely important when you're doing
Mhm.
content creating and whatnot, is how the household is being managed. And if you've been
Mhm.
making content for a little bit and you have a wife or a lady or whatnot, you should already know how important this is. But if you're thinking about getting into content creating and whatnot, make sure that you just have a really good person on your side that's willing to give a damn about how you spend your time and how you do your damn thing. But moving on, bruh. So I gotta know, like, in the community of you making content and whatnot. So like, I'm gonna say YouTube, Twitter, just because that's where I mostly see you and whatnot. Is that where you're mostly at?
Yeah. I did live stream on Twitter, Twitter, Twitch, like a little while ago. You know, when everybody was doing it, but since YouTube has gotten a little bit better with with their like their live streaming and the features of it. I don't, personally, I don't really see any. There's no real benefit for me to be on Twitch. For one thing, my audience is like very, very stubborn, where they don't want to move or go somewhere else to see me live stream. They're like, nah, So I just keep it all. I keep it all on YouTube. It's easier for me that way. It's easier for them. Works out for me. So
It's one less extra notification for them.
exactly.
Gotcha. All right. So within doing all this stuff on Twitter and YouTube, some would say that like BG is super biased. He doesn't like Xbox or anything that has to do with that at all. What would you say would be like something that people think of you that's not exactly true?
I mean, that I don't like Xbox is I don't think that's true. I like Xbox's good games. I mean, I think like, for example, Ori, they don't own the studio, but Ori is one of the I think is one of the one of the best platformers ever made. You know, though the second one, not Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, like that's one of the most amazing platformers, like as far as level design that I've ever played. And I like the Gear series. I don't think people give the Gear series enough for like the enemy types that they have in the series. I give it credit where credit is due, but I just don't think I just think there's a lot of areas where their games are, mediocre or just average. So it's not to me. It's definitely not hating. It's just calling it how it is. And there's a bunch of PlayStation games I don't like. People forget, like, I don't know. Actually a lot more PlayStation games I don't like than I do. And people don't seem to realize that. Like
They just put the hat on you and just
yeah,
call it what it is.
yeah, like I don't like Gran Turismo. Never liked Gran Turismo. I never liked any Little Big Planet game. Never liked, like, Until Dawn was an exclusive. Never liked that. Um, didn't like Days Gone. Didn't like Dreams. Obviously, didn't care about Concrete
I don't
Junior.
like Days Gone either.
Yeah, there's a bunch of PlayStation games where I literally don't care for, don't like, but they only seem to think that, oh, everything PlayStation makes you like. No, absolutely not. There's a lot. Literally a lot that I don't like. So to me, it's just about a game that fits my personal style. It's not about even the first Last of Us. I tell people all the time, I wasn't this huge fan of the first Last of Us game when it came out. I thought it was just an average game. Like, people were like, "Oh, this is the best game. It's one of the best games ever made. It's mind blowing." I'm like, this game is just average. You know, People don't seem to remember. It's funny. Some people get on me for that opinion, but other people seem to think, that I love everything PlayStation makes, when that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Joanna Dark, but Days Gone is just like, I don't know, the story of as far as I got into it, at least, I don't like it. I don't like the story. The game feels like I'm playing a cheaper open world knockoff of kind of The Last of Us. I don't know. I just don't really like it. What's your reason for not liking it, BG?
Days Gone is too damn long, for one thing. It was buggy. I'm sure they fixed the game, the bugs after a few patches. It was buggy. It was too damn long. I don't think the enemies were exactly that fun to kill. Like, yeah, after you kill a few horde, like when you kill your first horde, that's pretty cool. But after that, it felt pretty boring. And like I remember, if you run out of gas in your bike, if I remember correctly, you literally have to walk to get
Mhm.
gas and like bring it. I'm like, oh hell no. I remember I
Yeah.
ran out of. I think I ran out of gas like in the middle of nowhere one time, and I had to run all the way to get gas, and I can't remember. I think you could make your bike spawn back at a town where you were at. I think you could, or I had to walk all the way back to the bike because I think they marked it on the map, and I was like, "Oh hell no, I'm done."
Well, yeah, I think the thing was is like you could fast travel and your bike would be
Yeah.
wherever you fast traveled. But
Okay.
but I don't know. It was a pain in the butt, especially looking for gas or not
Mhm.
having the the snaps and the money for it or whatnot. Because
Mhm.
everything was super duper scarce in that game, and to me, like open world and just not having a whole lot of because it's a survival game, so it's not going to give you an abundance of ammunition. But I just think I just thought it was a little weird that not only do I not have that much ammunition, but like no matter how where I go and how much I'm gonna get maxed out real quick and feel silly that I only have like a couple clips of a gun. Like
Mhm.
I just for that, I just wasn't into that much. And the biking wasn't that dope to me. It didn't. It wasn't like oh man, it felt like I was going the same speed whether I was going uphill, downhill, straight. It just felt like I was just going the same kind of monotone, boring speed. I didn't pick up a
Mhm.
crazy amount of speed and feel out of control when I was going downhill or anything.
Mhm. Yeah,
It just
I was okay with the biking. I was okay with it.
I just thought it was kind of boring, personally
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. So that's one misconception that you think a lot of people feel about
Mhm.
you when it comes because they initially they see a tweet or something like that, or they take something out of context and say, oh man, he just hates anything that has to do with
Mhm.
Xbox at all.
Yeah.
All
Mhm.
right. So what would be something, if you have anything, that you would want to like share with people when it comes to like how you portray yourself or what you plan to be when it comes to like the end game? Like what's like an end game for you in content creation? What would be the peak for you of that?
I don't see it's funny, like I don't really have like necessarily big goals for myself when it comes to content creation. My big goals are for like my real life, my actual career. I continue to move up the ladder in my real career. Uh that's that's really what I care about. Like there was a time like when I was like probably in college where I had like these goals of growing and becoming a big content creator and all that stuff. I don't have that at all anymore. This is all just hobby for me now and something I do on the side when I want to, uh, and for fun. So I honestly don't have any like content creation goals. It's all personal goals, in real life.
Okay, well then let me reword it. What would be like an amazing thing to come from you being a content creator? Like, is there like a show that you would like to be on, or is there somebody that you would like to have on your show, or an event that you would like to be invited to, or a mass, or like recognition from a publisher or
Mm-hmm.
developer? Is there anything like
Um,
that?
I do like doing interviews. I've been followed by, uh certain big personalities, and I've done interviews with people in the industry because like I said, I've gone to E3, made connections and stuff like that. I do want to do more interviews from developers that that I'm that I would genuinely be interested in talking to. I guess a name would be probably like maybe Glenn Schofield. He's the dude who worked on the original Dead Space game. He's working on Callisto Protocol now. So yeah, I mean, it would be cool to interview him. I'm very selective about like the people who I actually try to do interviews. With I've done some cool ones in the past, and I'm pretty selective about it though.
Okay, why so selective? Is there a reason behind that?
I don't want to
Have
talk
you
to
been
everybody.
burned?
No,
Have you been burned?
no, I just don't want to talk to everybody. Like there's like it if I'm not genuinely interested to talk to you, I'm not going to do it, right? Because there are developers that I may be a fan of your game, but I really don't have any desire to speak to you, right? There's some people that interview somebody just because they worked on a game. I'm not going to interview you just because you worked on a game. You know, I'm like, it has to be something about you and the fact that you developed this game that makes me want to talk to you and ask you questions, right? It can't just like, I'm not gonna like if there was a list of like developers on a game, like let's say it was like the senior art director or the gameplay, the lead gameplay designer. I'm not gonna pick your name, you know, and want to talk to you just out of a hat just because you worked on the game. I have to know who you are, and there has to be something about you that makes me want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying?
So you
Yeah.
want to have that connection a little bit to where it's like, man, I actually do have a few questions for you. I'd like to have you on the
Yeah,
show, kind
I
of
like
thing.
yeah, like I would actually want to talk to you in real life. Like if I saw you, like yo, I want to talk to you. You know, like it has to be like that.
Okay, yeah, I like that answer because that's honest. That's
Yeah.
fairly straight up right there. Is there any like now that you've been into this content creation, you've been doing it for quite some time. Is there any tips or things that you would like to give anybody that's a newcomer that's thinking about getting into this scene? I mean, I know a lot has changed from when you started, but you've also maneuvered a lot throughout that change. So what's some fantastic tips that you would like to throw out to some people and be like, yo, make sure you do this and this, because this could really alter and change the way either you're seen online or the way that you display your content on like YouTube thumbnails or stuff like that. Go ahead and throw that out if you have anything.
I think the main tip people ask, when people ask me, I always say the same thing. It's and I think this is like an evergreen tip that always, is always relevant no matter when you say it, is, and it may sound cliche, but you got to be yourself, because the last thing you want to be is fake, right? Because when you're fake and you try to be somebody else, you're going to attract an audience based on that, but you have to keep up that fake personality and that appearance, right? And also, if you try to be somebody else, like there's already somebody else like that. People aren't necessarily looking for clones. People look for somebody who's like different and unique. And if you just be yourself, you're going to gain the people who follow you when you're truly being you. They follow you for you. They don't follow you because you're trying to be someone fake or trying to be someone else, right? So you have to be 100% yourself and portray that, when you're speaking and in your videos. Like that's the type of people, I watch. I don't like to, watch the people who are safe. They're extremely safe and they're like kind of, their personality is sheltered and they're just kind of generic. I think those people are kind of boring. It's the people who are, truly themselves 100% of the time that I think, will really, have some success and really stand out.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that's good stuff because I mean that's kind of why I've kind of based my channel personally more or less on interviews in news second, because I naturally just like talking to people. I do. I just like to hear what people have to say. I want to hear their opinions. I want to learn. I want to see where I was naive and didn't understand something. And I'm very open. I have open ears on a lot of things. Sometimes things get a little hot and I argue with people, but most of the time when I'm arguing with people, it's someone that I respect. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with somebody I don't give a damn about. Because what's the point of that? And I also like to have people on the show that, either I agree or disagree on something. They're going to give me their side and maybe I might see it a little bit differently. that I, walked in and at the beginning of the conversation on. But yeah, fantastic answer. I like that. Let's go on ahead and move it to the next thing. So, I would like to know, like, if you were to team up with somebody and make content and have like a show, what would be your like top 3 people to choose just randomly? Because you talk to a lot of different people. I want to know who's BG comfortable with.
Are you talking about like people I actually know, or like just literally anybody?
Both.
I mean, the people I would do a show with are probably the people I, do a show with now on Weapon Wheel. Honestly, there are some individuals, and I have guests on all the time. Just random people in like my community, in my Discord and stuff like that. But it's people that I do. The people I invite are people who I think fit into the show well, personality wise, because we're on Weapon Wheel, we're like, it's like a barbershop,
It definitely
podcast.
is.
It's like
Definitely is.
it's literally like we're in the barbershop and we're just like talking shit. So you have to. I feel like you have to be able to maneuver and fit that type of description of a person of that personality to be on the show. And there's certain people who fit that, right? Like even like I would say like David Jaffe, for example, right? David Jaffe is a shit talker, right?
Oh, big time.
He's a shit talker. He's a developer. You made God of War and God damn it, his Twisted Metal and Kinetica and all that stuff. But like he's always been a shit talker, so he can come on our podcast and fit in perfectly, right? Because he's not like quote unquote square. He's very rough around the edges, right? So, but it would be somewhat hard to bring a developer on that's kind of very clean cut and safe. I don't think they would fit well. So I probably couldn't, I probably wouldn't bring them on. But somebody who has the personality, who can really like talk trash and like, really just be chill. Those are the type of people I would, bring on and do a show with.
See, I think what's cool about your podcast is you have the opportunity, even if that person isn't somebody that you would enjoy having on every, time your podcast turns on or whatnot, you can give that kind of vibe of the, like you said, barbershop talk and whatnot, and kind of bring somebody outside of, their comfort zone and make them, we whether they agree with you on anything or not is, up to that person. But I know a person like me seeing your podcast and thinking of, wonder what would happen if I got, I already know I'd be arguing with somebody about something.
Probably.
I already know how it is, because I'd hear something and I'd be like, that just don't sit right. I got to say something about that shit. No. And it really surprised me when I first started like checking out some of your stuff a while back. Like I've seen Kid Smooth on there like regularly. So tell me a little bit about like what made you get him, which he's, he literally calls himself an X-Bot. What makes you get somebody like him on your show so consistently?
Yeah, I mean, he's the way I chose the members, because Kid Smooth is a main member, me, Jack, and Black Bond. The way I chose members was simply these are people I was already cool with, right? But also different personalities and different views. I don't like to hear the same opinions, right? Most of the other podcasts that I listen to, it's people with different opinions than me, because I don't like echo chambers, and I don't like to hear stuff I agree with. Like that's boring to me. So, bond, and in that way that we have people with different preferences and um different personalities as main members, we get to cover, different bases. Like Blandrew, he was a main member, but he's had to kind of take a step back because he's focusing on real life and stuff like that. But I think like we are like the including Blandrew when he's able to come on. I think we're the perfect podcast because Blandrew is a diehard Nintendo fan. Jack, diehard PlayStation guy, even more so than me, because I also play on PC. I got a Switch and all that stuff. So I still play on different things. But like I said, Blandrew is Nintendo. Jack is the diehard PlayStation guy. Kid Smooth is the diehard Xbox guy. Bond is a PC dude, but he still plays and dabbles in other stuff. So yeah, it was all because we were different, and those that synergy just makes it very entertaining.
That is, I mean, it's a pretty dope panel, and I like how, what I like is the passion that you have with your own crew. You're like, yo, man, I'm good where I'm at. I don't need to switch nothing up about it. So let's go on ahead and get to these kind of quick hit questions before we have our last few, because it's already been damn an hour and a half, and I don't even see where the time has gone. But it is what it is. That's how it goes when you're just kind of having a little conversation. But I want you to go on ahead and tell me like 3 games in your history of playing that has legit made you mad. Like you're just like, why did I buy this?
Any game that's made me mad would definitely be a multiplayer game, because single player games don't really upset me. Um, it's usually online where some BS is happening. So Uncharted 2, love that multiplayer, but a lot of the games I love the most will probably get me the angriest. So yeah, Uncharted 2, uh Last of Us Factions, um what else? What other multiplayer games did I
Factions made you
play?
mad?
Oh yeah, because it's a lot of BS in that multiplayer. Just the way people play. See the community. I believe that if you play any multiplayer long enough, the community will ruin it. Like community is just gonna make you upset because the meta for the multiplayer for multiplayer games always change. So things people weren't doing when the game first came out, they start like changing the way they play. Another game, the third game would probably be Rogue Company. It's a free to play game. I have like an insane amount of hours in this game. I love this game.
I
I,
was gonna
ha-
say
I
that
ha-
game is fun.
yeah, I had to I stopped playing. I stopped playing, even though I have an absurd amount of hours in it, just because I felt like the developers weren't supporting it as as they should. Um, but yeah, I used to rage on that game. I used to get mad, and just like be screaming at my teammates, and I just felt like they were complete idiots playing that game. I was, randoms. When you get the stupid random on your team, that's like, I'm like, bro, this random has to be like a 3-year-old child playing with using the controller, using their feet.
It's a pretty
I
simple game too. That's why it's so painful to see that kind of
Yeah,
shit.
I'm like, people just act. It's such a simple game, and like people play it like they're completely like just lost and dumbfounded. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm like, yo, it has to be a toddler that just stole a controller, and like, because that game used to legit get me upset, man. Like,
You probably are. Probably do have a toddler on your team or something like that.
yeah,
For real though,
probably.
because it's a free
Mhm.
game. So people, not everybody that throws that game and turns it on is going to be active or engaged. They could be making lunch while the
Mhm.
game's starting or something like that, because they just don't give a damn. But those are some 3 interesting games. I wouldn't have thought that you would have brought, because you brought up Uncharted 2 as one of the great games, and then you said the multiplayer was meh, factions was meh. It kind of surprised me a little bit. Didn't expect that answer.
I love them, but yeah, it just upsets me. Yeah.
Gotcha. Speaking of factions and all this stuff, I gotta go on ahead and ask, The Last of Us, where you at on that? This new one, you copping it day one?
Yeah, I'm playing it. I'm definitely playing it day one. Listen, I'm somebody who I believe strongly that buy the games you want. Everybody has a price, right? But everybody puts aside price for something they really want, right? When you really want a game, when you really want to play something, you put aside the price, and for everybody, for somebody it could be The Legend of Zelda. For somebody else, it could be a Halo game. So everybody has a type of game where, listen, I don't care how much this game is, I don't care what it is, I'm buying it. So that's where I'm like, if that's my stance on it. So yeah, I'm playing that day one. Because like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Last of Us when it came out. Because there were limitations with that game, and I think this, even though it will play the same mechanically, like gameplay wise, a lot of the things have been cleaned up and improve the quality of life on the game to make it look better, run better, perform better. The AI and stuff like that. So that's why, to me, I'm like, yeah, it'll be worth it. To me, because those are the things I had problems with originally.
Okay, so would you say, just out of curiosity, that leak sped up that announcement of that game? Because I personally was like thinking, some don't seem right, because the leak happened and literally like a day or two goes by and they got an announcement about the game. Do you think the leak pushed them to make the announcement, or do you think this is like some behind the scenes, somebody purposely did that to sometimes people like to throw out some garbage just to get some people talking about it, and then actually put out their product with their name on and say, what, I'm sorry this leaker showed some bullshit, but here's what you're really getting.
Yeah, I mean the they definitely responded to the leak. It was definitely reactionary, because they released that trailer and that blog at like 8 p.m. Eastern, EST. Like, no, but they never do that. They never release no type of information like that or announce nothing like that at like 8 p.m. That's unheard of. It's usually in the morning, earlier in the day. So yeah, they were reacting, and doing a little bit of damage control to the leak, because it was they wanted to control the narrative a little bit more, and if they wanted to control the narrative, they honestly should have released it. They should have been released that trailer, honestly. So yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So, of the last year, 365 days. So last, July 26th of 2021, what were the three games that you would say were the best for you? And then which one would take home the game of the year, in your opinion, throughout just this year past?
So the best three games for me within the last 365 days.
Hmm.
Man, probably, so I have to put Horizon Forbidden West in there. Uh, Probably put Sifu in there. Um, yeah, probably Elden Ring also. Like the games that came out like within
Like a month of each other.
yeah, probably the best. Yeah, those are probably the top three. And I would probably give a game of the year as of right now to Horizon.
Ooh, so you say Horizon is your game of the year of what's available through the
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
Interesting. What about that game was game of the year for you? Like,
I
was there
mean,
an like was it just so dang pretty? Was there something that like the mechanic wise that you loved about it? Like, spit your
yeah,
bars.
yeah, I don't think people give Horizon credit for how like gameplay wise how deep it is. Like the fact that and the strategic factor of Horizon, the fact that you have to target certain parts of these machines and they all have certain weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Like they these machines are so intricately designed and there's like so many pieces of like actual armor. um like when you look at the models, you know, of the machines, it's insane how much detail they put into these. And there's like what 50, there's like 50 types of machines. They all have specific weaknesses. The fact that you can do certain attacks to disable their special abilities. There, you know, there's all these type of statuses that you can status ailments that you could hit them with. It's gameplay wise, it's just to me, it's great in that sense. And I mean, it's a game where you shoot giant dinosaurs, giant, you know, robot dinosaurs. Essentially, I'm like, that concept to me is just great. Of course, the game looks good. The gameplay is amazing. The world, the the open world is astounding. There's so much to do. There's so much density in that open world. Like there's so much activities to do in Forbidden West. Like when it comes to just the sheer amount of activities that they put in the game, you know, outside of anything to do with the main quest or anything like that. And then the amount of side quests are crazy too. And then outside of the side quests, there are the activities like the board game and the racing. There's just so much content in it. So I think they went above and beyond with what they put in that game.
Oh man, I'm happy you feel that way because I do not feel that same way. I don't have that same
Mhm.
sentiment for that game. I think it's probably the prettiest game that I've ever had the chance to beat. Um, the finding and picking spots where to shoot,
Mhm.
not for me that much.
Yeah, I love it.
I,
Yeah.
I think it's okay, but I get really tired of using that damn bow.
Mhm.
I just got really tired of it, and the melee combat to me, I just didn't feel like it was. I didn't feel like it was available to use as much as where like where it felt comfortable to fall back to my
Yeah.
bow and arrow. I always felt like I'd go in there, swipe 6 or 7 times, and then be like, "All right, I'm tired of getting my ass whooped.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
tired
that's
of
why
rolling
like
around."
that's why, yeah. I mean, I get that. That's why I utilize so many different weapons, you know, like you know, like there's the explosive slingshots and like I used all of the different type of weapons that they, you know, provided you with the throwing spear. Yeah, like they did a much better job at like
I used
providing
the
you with
hell out of
different
that
type.
throwing spear. That
Yeah.
thing was OP.
Yeah, so you know that diversified like the gameplay a bit more than using, you know, the bow, and the bow has so many different type of arrows. So you
It
know
does.
I feel like that made it better for me.
But I don't know why it took some people so long to
Mhm.
beat. I mean, I didn't platinum, and I don't give a shit about platinum in games. I'm just
Mhm.
not one of those kind of people. I beat a game and move on because my backlog just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if the length of that game was the main issue for me, like it was for so many people. I know some people said they like, they platinum the game and it was like a misery for them, and I'm like, why do you do that to yourself? If you don't like a game like that, then why are you trying to platinum
Yeah, I only platinum
it?
games. Yeah, I only platinum games I really like. I platinumed Horizon. It took me about 100 hours, but you know, I really like the game, so that's nothing. But 100 hours in a to platinum a game you don't like, that's more like
It's
that's almost like
insane.
it's gonna feel like 2,000 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that. Can't be me. Can't be me. All right, let's get to these last few. We got up next we have what game you're most excited for. And I don't want you to use two games that you mentioned already. One is Callisto Protocol,
Okay.
and the other one is God of War, obviously. So I want you to tell me something that you're extremely excited for. Not kind of excited, like you're ready to like really kick it and play this game.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's about to be real good for horror survival fans outside of Callisto Protocol, because my number one game I'm anticipating next year is Resident Evil 4 remake. Like I said, Resident Evil 4, I beat that on like everything, so I'm ready for that remake. That's definitely my most anticipated game for next year. Also, the Dead Space remake. Big Dead Space fan, so I'm excited for that. Um, there's Alan Wake coming out next year. Alan Wake, too. This sequel after such a long time. What else is there next year? There's that game called Flintlock that we saw at the
Man,
Xbox
Flintlock
conference.
looks so damn fire. I mean, some people are trying to roast it for the way it looks, saying, comparing it to what's that game coming out that got pushed after God of War was announced? Forspoken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, man, I don't know. That Flintlock game looks pretty fun. With with a gun and a knife, it gives me Fable feels a little bit.
Yeah, there's Jedi, the next Jedi game, Jedi Survivor. Yeah, those are some I'm definitely excited for, fight for those.
Okay. And 2 games that you would bring back from the past to remake, because they're already remaking Resident Evil. So go ahead and give me some other ones that you would like to see get remade. 2.
Metal Gear Solid 1. That needs a remake badly. I think that's perfect for a remake. That's prime for a remake. And what else deserves a remake? I'm gonna go with Legend of Dragoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, so a little bit of a serious question that I ask everybody, and that would be, what about gaming in general? And I'm actually I want this to be a 2-part question. I want you to tell me what frustrates you in gaming within community, and then what frustrates you in gaming behind the scenes, like of actual like development and like production and publishing and stuff like that. So there's 2 questions in one right there.
What frustrates me about the gaming community first? I would say just that people don't really don't prioritize mean gaming. There's a lot of people that don't prioritize gaming. That's what as a gaming community, that should be our main focus. And a lot of people, for some strange reason, lie about certain things. What was for something, gaming, for something as like just insignificant. And I mean insignificant, like in the grand scheme of things, as gaming. Like, it seems that's very something weird to lie about. Like, to lie about something you've played or experienced, and like, bro, this is our hobby. It's very strange that people around this community lie about it. So that's something that that bothers me. And as far as like the development of games and the industry, I would say I felt like pretty frustrated that I felt like games, multiplayer games specifically, are not made for my demographic anymore. At least recently. I think like things are going to come full circle, and what was popular before may become popular again. Because when you look at the most popular multiplayer games, they're nothing like, in like style and the type of multiplayer game they are. They're nothing like the type of multiplayer games that were the most popular. Even I want to
So are we
say
talking
like
genres? Are you talking genres right now?
Just genres and play style, right? Like a game like Fortnite, this goofy little game where it has all these characters, from different games, these, these skins and stuff like that. Just the tone of the game, right? This goofy little game, third person shooter. That's not a game you really would have found around 2014. Nothing like that exists around 2014, right?
It's too goofy for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of Fortnite. So the most popular multiplayer games, the dominant ones, are just very different from the what dominated, like I said, even 8 years ago. And the type of multiplayer games that I like, aren't being made right now. I think, like I said, things are gonna come back around. Um, but a lot of the times, everybody likes to have that go-to multiplayer where you can just, when you have nothing to do, you could just go to it. I haven't had that like for a long time. Like I said, look, the most recent thing has probably been Rogue Company and The Last of Us, but it hasn't been like consistent where like, oh, a multiplayer game comes out, like, oh, I'm gonna try this, and this I'm gonna also add this to my rotation. Like, it's just rare where I get to add a multiplayer game that I like to my rotation. It'll be like a multiplayer game comes out. Oh, I hate this. Another one comes out. I hate this too. Another one comes out. I hate this too. This is not my type of multiplayer game. So that's one thing that's frustrated me is like I seem to.
Are you excited for Modern Warfare at all?
I've never really been like crazy about Call of Duty multiplayer. I've liked the stories, the campaigns,
Stories are
single
dope.
players. Yeah. But I've never I play them all. Some of them but I've never really taken them serious. Like I've never loved any of them. I think the best one was probably Black Ops, the first Black Ops. But I've never really played a lot of them, long term.
Yeah, I feel you. I pretty much fell off the wagon after Modern Warfare 3, which was my favorite one of them all. And it was for the confined sessions that you could have, because they had 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3 on that on that specific game. And I liked being able to just be me and a homie going versus two other people or three other people or something like that. I thought that was really fun. But now I want to ask the same question but flipped, so positive. Because I mean, that's why I like to end these kind of things on a positive note. So what would be a dream come true in the community, and then also within game development and publishers and all that stuff?
A dream come true. I would say just that game releases and game development. I would like the game development cycle to get a little bit shorter, because you have a lot of games that
Feel that.
man, these the cycle is getting, it's not sustainable for some of these games to have development cycles of like 5-6 years. uh
And then it comes out and flops.
yeah, it comes out and flops, or even after being in development 6 years, it gets delayed 3 more times. So they have to, a dream would be for them to figure out a way to like streamline and like uh just make the development of these games faster than what it is, um, or them just or more studios just making games that don't take as long, like the games that take maybe around 3 years, 3-4 years of development, right? Maybe we can't get rid of the ones that take super long, like 6 years, but maybe more should be shooting for the games that take a little bit less time, so we don't have as much extreme dry periods or dry spells in gaming.
Well, we can definitely hope for that, because it seems like development on a lot of these games, or no, I shouldn't say a lot of these games, but development on like some of these engines and stuff like that are easier for smaller teams to use now compared to way back when you'd have to have like some sort of large money at hand, or or a publisher behind you or something like that to do it. Because you see, I mean, I'm not a fan of this game, but like Tunic was, it was surprising to hear only one person was really behind that game being made.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and it's not just Tunic. There's a lot of other games out there that have really small teams
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what they can do just by themselves or just with a few people. It's incredible, and I can't wait to see another kind of PS3 kind of 360 feel when games where it's not like every 3 to 5 years. It's more or less like a few times a year. Like see one developer or publisher come out with like 2 or 3 games in 1 year would be insane. But you know, I think we're getting closer to that possibility, especially with some of these engines being a lot easier to work with. Unity, Unreal Engine 4 and stuff, or not 4, Unreal Engine 5 and stuff like that coming out. Really interesting stuff. So my very last thing that I wanted to ask you about yourself is what is something that's fun that nobody really knows about you that you would be comfortable with, you know, letting everybody know?
Just a fact about myself.
Yeah.
Uh, what is a fact about someone? Oh man, I'm
Randall Thor had the worst time. He's like, I'm not interesting at all. I don't know.
yeah. Oh, you talked to Rand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly pretty boring. Here, like my routine is, and the things I'm interested in. It's games, movies. I watch a lot of movies. Especially since we're home a lot more because I work from home. I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of TV shows. Like I'm always looking for a new TV show, new movie to watch. Uh, I uh, so yeah, TV shows, movies, going to the movies. Um, I do like to travel. Usually anytime I travel, it's like a tropical island. Like that's people travel different places, go visit different places for vacation. To me, it's not really a vacation unless it's a tropical island, right? Like I don't consider going anywhere else an actual vacation.
You don't want to go see the
Um,
snow?
no, it's definitely not a vacation, right? Like even going to another state, going somewhere within the states, I don't. Even if it's warm, to me that's not really a vacation. Um, I've never smoked before, but I take edibles. Um, I don't know. People seem to find that pretty I don't know, strange that I've never smoked before. But yeah, I've never been interested in smoking. I don't like something about the concept of smoking just bothers me. But
Fair.
edibles from a dispensary, that's the thing. Like I'm one of those where like taking something, buying something from somebody, like every people be having their own dealer that they trust and everything like that. I've never been comfortable with the concept of buying something from somebody, so I've never done that either. But when dispensaries started to come around and they're legal, and these people are vetted and their product is safe, you know I'm for that. But before then, never taken anything. So yeah, but I'm down for the edibles.
Gotcha. That's what's up. All right, and then the last main question I'm gonna ask is actually if you have any questions for me at all.
Um, I'll ask you, what are your goals with this content creation thing? Where are you trying to reach with this?
I mean, if I can, I just want to have a library of people that I've talked to. And I mean, if it goes somewhere, that would be fantastic. I'd love it. I'd,
Mhm.
try to, you know, continue with my professionalism with people and whatnot. I mean, I do like to get a little wild sometimes, but on this show specifically, when I'm literally meeting somebody for the first time, I like the professional
Mhm.
kind of interviews that I can have with people and learning stuff about them on more of a real aspect instead of just a fun joking and just bullshitting kind of way. I want to know what people are really kind of thinking and what they plan on doing down the line. So yeah, for me with this kind of content and channel for the future, I really want to just learn about more people. If I could make a few bucks doing that, that'd be dope too. But this isn't something that I'm trying to, just do for this year or do for a couple years. I want to do this for a long time. And I want my daughter and stuff like that to be able to say, oh man, like if I want to talk gaming or if friends have questions about gaming and whatnot, I know who to go to. He's talked to, this amount of different people. He has a lot of connections. That's pretty much the gist of it. Is I want to be able to have those connections with people. Whether it makes me money, a ton of money or not, like isn't really the end goal. The end goal is more or less, I want to be able to kick it with people. I've always been kind of chatty when it comes to meeting new people and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it is with that.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions or anything bold to ask?
No, that's all I got, man.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and have you answer what you think gaming, if you were like to, just put it all in a box and just write 3 words on it. I want you to describe gaming in just those 3 words. What would you say?
3 words. Challenge. I'm gonna say challenge because to me, I play games for a challenge. Fun, because for me the fun comes from the challenge. And I'm gonna say just entertainment. Because I think gaming is the best form of entertainment. It's the most successful form of entertainment. It's when you look it up in a dictionary, gaming, that should be the prime example. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right. So challenging, fun, and entertainment, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Fantastic. So I want to thank you, Broken Games, HDR, or BG, for being on the show, taking some time to be with me. As you said earlier, you don't talk to everybody, so I really appreciate you taking some time out to come talk to me, whether it was, because you wanted to or you heard from somebody else that you should come on. I don't care. I just appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for hanging out, watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you want to come back and see some more shows. The next few days are going to be wild for me because I'm in the midst of moving. But before I move my computer to my new place and whatnot, this Thursday I got Strictly Gaming coming on the podcast, so that should be pretty exciting. He has a lot of energy. Dude's wild. I really want to ask him some questions about The Last of Us, because him and Dreamcast guy got into it about that, and I know how passionate he is. And I was really interested because I was like, why did Dreamcast run away so dang quickly? He didn't want any of the smoke at all from Strictly, and that's not the first time that's happened. So I'm really interested to ask him, like, what makes him so passionate to come up and really, he comes out with his chest out and really lets people know how he feels. And I want to know kind of what makes him tick with those situations. But anyways, as I said, Broken Games, really appreciate you being here. Y'all people watching, really appreciate y'all. This is Ham Solo 05 Gaming with TSWS Gaming channel on YouTube. We are out of here. Peace out.
Peace, y'all.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me, Lennard Ray. Come on. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying we can rule the world, just me and you if you were playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's was true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, Boosie. I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The Mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it. That shit was